So now our player is set up, we need to actually add some camera movement to our player so we can move. We want to be able to move with the camera as well. So if you can't remember how to get onto our GD script, you can click script at the top or click on your player and hit the script icon. So how do we set up our camera movement? So what we first need to do is gain access to our pivot. So if we go back to our player, you'll see that we've got this pivot and camera that we added. We want to gain access to them, so we're going to type on ready var. We're going to call pivots equals, and we're going to make it equal to the pivot node. I'm just going to do the same for camera, so on ready var camera, and that's going to be equal to the pivot camera because camera is a subnode of pivot. Now I've got access to them. We then want to create a brand new function, and this is another built-in function, and this is called underscore input events, and this checks for certain events that have been inputted. So the one that we want to do is we want to say if event is input event mouse motion. So what this is basically saying that anytime there is any motion with the mouse, we want to call this function, run this if statement, and run some code behind it. And obviously this is going to happen a lot because we want to be moving the mouse every time we want to look around. So first thing we need to do is be able to look left and right. So we need to rotate Y for this, and we're going to take our degrees to radons function, and we're going to use minus event dot relative dot x, and this will allow us to move left and right. And then in order to move up and down, we're going to do pivots dot rotate, so we're rotating our pivot now, and then underscore x, rotate underscore x, and then again our degrees to rads minus event dot relative, and then this time it's going to be our relative y. Now some people like to move the mouse at different speeds, and we've got a thing called mouse sensitivity. So we can actually set up our mouse sensitivity really quickly. I'm just going to create a brand new variable called var mouse sense, or whatever we want to call our variable, and I'm going to set this to 0.1, which is going to be a very small mouse sensitivity. And we're just going to take whatever the relative x and y is, I'm going to times them by mouse sense. And this just means that we've got a way to change our mouse sensitivity, even if it's just hard coded at the moment. Then we can change that by just changing that number. So if the game's not moving the way you want it to, you can play around with that number. So if we were to run this now and test our game, we can move left and right. We've still got the ability to move. But the biggest problem, this is going to be really hard to show because I'm using a trackpad. So if I just keep going, you'll see that we can rotate all the way around 360 degrees until we face the complete back way again. Now, this isn't very realistic, so we need to fix this issue. So again, go back to your script, and we're going to put a clamp on. And what this basically means is we can say that if the value extends this, stop. So we're going to do pivots dot rotation. So pivot.rotation dot x, because x is the one we want to stop, it's the one that goes up and down, equals clamp pivot dot rotation, and then we want to do dot x, comma, degrees to rad, and inside that we're going to set this to minus 89. Which is what standard first-person games normally use, and then comma, degrees to rad again, and then plus 89. So this will let us look 89 degrees up and down before it will stop us going any further. Obviously you can adjust these two numbers if you want the player to look up really far up so they can look straight to the sky, or if you want it so they can only look so far up and then they stop. And again, if we just do another test of this, We've got our movement, looking around, and now if I try and rotate all the way around, you see I can't get any further. If I try looking up, you'll see that I'm not going back on myself. I can still see the sun there. So we've got a very, very simple, basic movement done with our mouse. And next video, we'll start adding some gravity.